What if a body could disappear? Not on land, but at the bottom of the ocean, locked inside something no one would ever open. For years, this case had no answers, no location, no evidence, until a fishing crew pulled something up that wasn't supposed to be there. A sealed trunk, covered in barnacles, heavy enough that it shouldn't have moved. But it did, and what was inside didn't just identify a victim, it exposed a plan that was never supposed to fail. This is the fictional disappearance of Marcus Haile. Marcus Haile was 41, a logistics consultant who worked with shipping companies along the Gulf Coast. He was organized, careful, and known for tracking every detail. He lived alone, stayed in regular contact with his sister, and rarely changed his routine, which made his disappearance stand out immediately. His sister stated,
"He wasn't the type to just disappear. He'd call me every few days, sometimes just to check in. If something changed, he would have said something."
On September 12, 2018, Marcus was last seen leaving a waterfront cafe after meeting someone. Security footage showed him walking toward the marina just before sunset. And after that, there were no confirmed sightings. The next day, his phone went offline. No calls, no messages, no financial activity. It was like he disappeared midday. 3 days later, his sister reported him missing. Police searched his apartment. Everything was still there: laptop, passport, personal documents. No signs of a struggle. No signs he packed to leave, which meant he never planned to go anywhere. But one detail stood out. Marcus had recently flagged a financial discrepancy tied to a private shipping contract. And that detail would come back later. With no evidence and no clear suspect, the case slowed. Then it went cold. For 8 years, nothing changed. Until something came up from the ocean floor. In early 2026, a commercial fishing crew detected something unusual on sonar. A large object resting deep below the surface. Too compact to be debris, too dense to be natural. When they pulled it up, they found a trunk, old, metal reinforced, covered in marine growth, and sealed shut, which raised the first serious concern. Authorities took over immediately. The trunk was transported to a secure facility, where forensic teams began controlled extraction. When they opened it, they found human remains inside, along with preserved items packed tightly around the body. And that changed everything. The trunk itself had been sealed using industrial materials designed to keep air and water out. This wasn't random. It was planned, which meant someone expected it to stay hidden. Investigators looked back at Marcus's final day. He had met someone at the waterfront, someone who never came forward. Digital records showed his phone connected briefly to another device near the marina. Then both signals disappeared. One dock worker later said,
"He wasn't in a rush. He looked like he was meeting someone he already knew."
which suggests Marcus went there willingly. Back in 2018, police had no location, no body, no reason to search offshore. There was no indication Marcus had entered the water, so the investigation stayed focused on land, which meant one possibility was never explored, that the evidence was never on land at all. And that gap allowed everything to stay hidden. Be honest, if someone disappears near the water, do you assume they left? Or consider they were taken somewhere no one would think to search? Because in this case, that assumption delayed everything. Marcus had been reviewing financial records tied to a private logistics company. One name kept coming up: Daniel Cross, a warehouse owner with access to shipping routes, industrial equipment, and offshore transport. Cross told police he barely knew Marcus, but records showed multiple meetings, and one payment flagged just days before Marcus disappeared. And that didn't match his statement. At the time, there wasn't enough to act on, so the lead was dropped until the trunk was opened, and everything pointed back to the same person. Inside the trunk, investigators found more than remains. They found preserved materials, clothing, fragments of paper, and one key item: a personalized metal key tag linked to Marcus's office. That confirmed his identity immediately. Advanced forensic techniques stabilized water-damaged evidence.
The condition was challenging, but not impossible. We were able to recover partial documents and confirm identity through dental scans and chemical analysis.
Chemical processes allowed partial recovery of documents. 3D dental scans confirmed the match. Isotopic analysis confirmed the timeline. Marcus Haile had been in that trunk since 2018, which meant the plan worked until it didn't. Then investigators focused on the trunk itself. It was traced back to a specific supplier used in industrial shipping. The weights attached to it came from a warehouse, registered to Daniel Cross, and now the connection was direct. But the biggest mistake wasn't the trunk. It was where it was placed. The area had underwater thermal shift currents strong enough to move objects over time. The trunk didn't stay where it was dropped. It moved, and eventually, it was detected. And that's where the plan failed. Investigators believe Marcus met Cross willingly at the marina. They spoke, something changed, an argument started. It escalated into a physical struggle. Marcus was overpowered. At that point, Cross made a decision, not to report what happened, but to hide it. Using his access to equipment, he transported the body, placed it inside the trunk, sealed it, weighted it, and disposed of it offshore. A method designed to remove all evidence. And for years, it worked. In 2026, police executed a warrant at Cross's warehouse. Recovered materials matched the trunk, sealants matched, weights matched, and his past statements no longer aligned with the evidence. He was arrested and charged. In court, reconstructed evidence was presented using modern forensic imaging. Even after years underwater, the details held. Cross was convicted. Marcus Haile disappeared without a trace. For years, there were no answers, no location, no evidence, just silence. Until the ocean gave something back and proved one thing: no matter how far something is hidden, it doesn't always stay there. So the question is, how many secrets are still out there, just waiting to surface?